A timer counts down the minutes until showtime at the top of the screen. The words "Equipped for Equality" encircle green star logo. Title: Welcome to our 35th anniversary event. Thank you for joining us. The main event will begin shortly. In the meantime, we'd like to thank our generous sponsors and pro bono partners. Presenting sponsors: Denton's, Kirkland & Ellis. Partner sponsors: List of donors. Council sponsors: List of donors. Co-council sponsors: List of donors. Advocate sponsors: List of donors. Supporter sponsors: List of donors. Friends sponsors: List of donors. Title thanking Equipped for Equality's funders, list of 15 organizations. Title card thanking Equipped for Equality's pro bono partners, listed by name. Title: Are you ready? Are you really ready? Counting down. A green number 35 grows larger, filling the screen. The show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Multiple images of Equipped for Equality clients, staff, and advocates fill the screen. Sign in center: Protection and Advocacy, Inc. A mix of photos and videos suggests the breadth of Equipped for Equality's work over 35 years. Green number 35 shines with presenting partner logos for Denton's and Kirkland & Ellis.
Hello, and welcome to Equipped for Equality's 35th anniversary celebration. I'm Lisa Martin, a member of EFE's Board of Directors and chair of the 35th Anniversary Celebration Committee. I'm so excited to join you tonight from Boston and look forward to this evening's awesome program. Let me assure you that there will be something for everyone over the next hour. We will take a look at the impact EFE has had over the past 35 years, recent client successes, and ways in which this incredible organization has advanced disability justice through systemic advocacy. But first, it is my honor to introduce two very talented artists involved in the rich disability culture scene in Chicago. Tommy Carroll and Stephanie Alma are performing an original piece and world broadcast premiere exclusively for us here tonight. Murcielago, which means bat in Spanish. Stephanie wrote the song and will sing, while Tommy accompanies her on percussion. Take it away, Tommy and Stephanie.
Tommy Carroll, seated, plays congas. Stephanie Alma, seated, sings into microphone.
En un nido de pájaros, buscando el amor en lugares equivocados. Cuando se cansa de volar, se pone a cantar. Ahora, ¿cómo quieres que te quiera? las noches se pone a cultivar 1000 jardines de amor en su propio lugar. Cuando se cansa de volar se pone a cantar. La gente se confunde, no pueden criticar que un murciélago también merece volar. Ahora, ¿cómo quieres que te quiera? Si 1000 extraños me han amado mejor. Ahora, ¿cómo quieres que te quiera? Si 1000 extraños me han amado mejor. Ahora, ¿cómo quieres que te quiera? Si 1000 extraños me han amado mejor. Ahora, ¿cómo quieres que te
Title, a word from our president. Zena Nadich, founder, president, and CEO.
Good evening. The pandemic has changed everything, including our celebration of our 35th anniversary. I want to thank all of you for joining us virtually tonight. 35 years ago, Governor James Thompson, governor of Illinois, made a bold decision. He decided to privatize the federally mandated protection and advocacy system for people with disabilities in Illinois. Through a competitive bid process, he selected a new nonprofit, Equip for Equality. We began with 8 staff statewide. Today, we have 60 staff, including 30 in-house attorneys. Our mission to advance the human and civil rights of children and adults with all types of disabilities in Illinois is accomplished in 3 primary ways. We are a legal advocate for people with disabilities, an independent watchdog, and by advancing public policy and legislative reforms. We are a unique private nonprofit organization because we have broad federal and state statutory powers. We represent thousands of individuals with disabilities across the state, and also the broader disability community benefits from our systemic reform litigation. I want to thank our supporters and our pro bono partners. Tonight, we are honoring the 5 law firms that donated the most pro bono hours over the past 5 years. Together, their support is equivalent to 15 additional full-time attorneys. Our entire pro bono program has contributed the equivalent of 23 full-time attorneys. As you can imagine, this has greatly expanded the scope and reach of our mission. And finally, I would like to recognize our staff. Their creativity, their skills, their passion brings our mission to life. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoy our program.
Host seated in front of white screen with green star logo.
Good evening. I'm Mark Rotatori, and it's been my pleasure to serve on the Equip for Equality Board of Directors for 6 years. In that short time, I've seen this organization do so many great things to advance the human and civil rights of people with disabilities, and a few of those will be highlighted in tonight's program. For the last 35 years, Equip for Equality has worked tirelessly to promote independence, inclusion, and equity for people with disabilities throughout Illinois. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that people with disabilities remain one of the most at-risk populations in our state and across the nation. People with disabilities who are institutionalized in a variety of settings, from nursing homes to homeless shelters to prisons and jails, have been inordinately impacted by COVID-19. The virus has brought into focus many inequities that have long plagued disability communities. More than ever, we need your support to continue advocating for the health and safety of people with disabilities. As you watch the program and learn more about our important work, I invite you to join in the conversation going on in the chat box to the right of the screen. You can also make donations without leaving the show by clicking on the donate button below the screen. Or you can text EFE to 779-204-7221. Again, the number is 779-204-7221. Now, on to our evening's first feature. 2 years ago, 2 reporters came to Equip for Equality to inquire about the use of physical restraint and seclusion of students in schools. With the help of our expertise, Jennifer Smith Richards of the Chicago Tribune and Jody Cohen of ProPublica, Illinois, dedicated hundreds of hours of investigative journalism to the story, resulting in a compelling series on this critical issue. Those articles prompted the passage of legislation that protects students from the most egregious forms of restraint and isolated timeout in schools. We simply could not have accomplished what we did without their help. Here's Director of Policy, Cheryl Jansen, to tell us more.
Title: Policy Update, Restraint and Seclusion. 2011 C-SPAN footage of congressional testimony on restraint and seclusion.
The teacher put him face down and sat on him. He struggled and said repeatedly, "I can't breathe."
Many states have no laws specifically governing the appropriate use of seclusion and restraint in schools, and parents often are unaware of the use of these abuses until their child comes home with bruises or tragically can't come home at all.
And where you see children being hurt, children's safety has to be our number one concern before we begin to think about educating them and doing other things.
Cheryl Jansen, Director of Public Policy.
Reducing and eliminating the use of restraint and seclusion in settings that serve people with disabilities of all ages has been a priority of Equip for Equality for decades.
Cover of EFE Special Report on Restraint-Related Deaths with excerpts.
The research, it goes back probably 30 years now, demonstrating the extreme dangers and risks that are associated with use of those interventions. Most recently, we had been in communication with reporters from the Chicago Tribune and ProPublica, who at that time were researching and gathering data in order to do a comprehensive series regarding the dangers of restraint and seclusion. And so we worked with them for about a year before the first article was actually published.
ProPublica and Chicago Tribune headline: The quiet rooms children are being locked away, alone and terrified, in schools across Illinois. Children's handwritten notes: I need help, not to die. I want to go home. Let me out of here. Illinois State Senator Ann Gillespie.
The story really made an impact on us. Jonathan, because of his background and having been a child who was put in seclusion.
Illinois State Representative Jonathan Carroll.
I can still remember the vividly what that room did, like how I felt being in that room, and the amount of helplessness and vulnerability that you have when you're in there, that you really have no recourse to deal with whatever situations you have. Equip was had been involved in the article, I believe, and had at least been a source for some information for ProPublica for the article. So they were experts in the field. They were aware of what was going on in the schools and were aware that something more than just a newspaper approach, more than just public exposure was needed.
We met with them, talked with them about the issues, the dangers, the risks, and expressed our willingness to work with them and to get other advocates to support that legislation.
I think that was probably the most surprising thing, is just there was actually opposition to this. And not only opposition from, some of the schools that did it, but some of my colleagues that I don't think quite understood the issue. And again, that's part of the education process. So we had to deal with a lot of that. And I think Equip kind of kept us like, no, we need to stay on this path. We need to stay on this path.
We were actively engaged in crafting and redrafting the legislation and expanding it from just being a ban on seclusion to also include the use of restraint.
Equip also helped us understand what some of the tools were that were out there that could be used to replace restraints. and put us in touch with some of the schools that were using those so we could get a better understanding of what alternatives were available.
This legislation is so critical, and it could literally impact every student in the state of Illinois because it is not applicable just to students with disabilities. It applies to all students in the state. It really could have a tremendous impact statewide.
ProPublica headline: Illinois dramatically limits use of seclusion and face-down restraints in schools. Article describes passage of bill in 2021. Reported by Jennifer Smith Richards, Chicago Tribune, and Jody S. Cohen, ProPublica. Green Star logo with speech bubble reading Staff Chat.
My name is Tashiana Stafford. To be honest, I had no idea Equip was as cool as it was before I started working here. Spending my education and my resources on advocating for children has always been a priority, and as I was doing social justice work around the city of Chicago right out of law school, I was meeting plenty of people from Equip for Equality at every meeting. They were everywhere. And so it just seemed like such a natural fit for my work to continue with Equip for Equality, especially because, you know, the people that I was encountering, they were warriors, you know, advocacy warriors, and we really were on the same page. And so they gave me the opportunity to kind of shape my type of advocacy.
U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth has been a friend of EFE since she worked in Veterans Affairs during the Obama administration. It's now my pleasure to introduce the senator who has advocated for disability justice for years.
U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Hi, everyone. I want to congratulate Equip for Equality on celebrating 35 years. What an achievement. Since 1985, Equip for Equality has provided legal services and advocated for people with disabilities right here in Illinois. Your hard work and dedication to uphold the ADA while simultaneously working to improve the lives of those of us with disabilities does not go unnoticed. You've been able to make real differences in people's lives, and that work is so important, especially with all the challenges that our nation faces. The last year and a half has been pretty difficult for so many, but people with disabilities have faced even greater hurdles and hardships. During the pandemic, we've seen that Americans with intellectual and developmental disabilities have died at higher rates than other Americans when infected with COVID-19. And so many people with disabilities were forced to navigate really difficult situations, such as job losses, limited access to healthcare, and increased social isolation. Despite all the hardships we face, the disability community is strong, and we will continue to make our voices heard. No matter the challenge, people with disabilities can and will find a way. But it's great to have help, which is why I'm grateful for the work of organizations like Equip for Equality. As your senator, I am proud to work with Equip for Equality to deliver for the people of Illinois. That is why I joined my colleagues in urging the Department of Education to stop putting students in seclusion rooms and to issue federal guidance to prohibit physical restraints used on our students. Because no child should suffer the consequences of restraint and seclusion within our schools. Right now, I am urging Senate leadership to support President Biden's request of $400 billion to expand Medicaid home and community-based services for aging relatives and people with disabilities. Also, I am an original co-sponsor of Senator Casey's Better Care, Better Jobs Act. This bill would carry forward President Biden's bold vision through the expansion of funding to home and community-based services and strengthen the workforce providing them. Look, I know that without the support of Equip for Equality, many people, not just people with disabilities in Illinois, would be facing unthinkable circumstances. Equip for Equality is not just a disability rights organization. Equip for Equality is a human rights organization. I look forward to celebrating with you all again in person and hopefully in the near future. But for now, congratulations of 35 years, and here's to 35 more.
Title: Pro Bono Spotlight. Logo for Jones Day. Rachel Shapiro, Equip for Equality attorney.
I'm here with Beth Manning, an attorney at Jones Day, our pro bono partner that has contributed about 2,500 hours in volunteer hours over the last 5 years. Beth has volunteered for our special education rights clinic for several years and has unprecedented results in federal litigation for a special education client. Beth, I understand that your work at Jones Day focuses on contracts and tax disputes. What compelled you to focus your pro bono work on working with students with disabilities?
It's really the importance that education has for every child, and ensuring that everyone can have meaningful access to their education and really participate in their education. The pro bono work in this area can make such a crucial impact on a child's education simply by providing meaningful support for the families who may be unfamiliar with the process. One of the things that I find really special is that Jones Day supports and encourages its attorneys to find pro bono work that they are passionate about and are driven towards. And that has allowed a number of attorneys at Jones Day to connect with Equip for Equality and pursue so many different projects within the Chicago area to support the community.
Title: Pro Bono Spotlight. Logo for Latham and Watkins.
With over 4,000 hours of pro bono services donated in the past 5 years, Latham and Watkins attorneys help advance disability justice by representing students in IEP meetings and due process hearings. Latham attorneys also work with us on voting access projects. I'm here with Karen Klass, a Latham attorney on the firm's pro bono committee. Karen, as a pro bono committee member, can you tell us why pro bono work is so important to your firm?
Yeah, hi Rachel. Ever since I started at Latham several years ago, I think that pro bono has it's been an expectation more than an opportunity. I mean, everybody at the firm usually has at least one, maybe a few pro bono projects going on. And it's really amazing to see, especially from the leadership, that pro bono work is treated with the same utmost importance as client billable work. And the firm really works hard to find opportunities to engage associates, engage partners, and really just engage the firm across the board in pro bono work from the onset. My older brother, Ira, has intellectual disabilities. So disability rights and advocating for individuals with special needs has always been something that I'm really passionate about and is really important to me. So when I was in law school and about to graduate, I actually took a Pilley Fellowship with Equip that Latham sponsored. And so having the opportunity to, work at this great firm and advocate for individuals with disabilities is truly just a dream come true for me.
Title: Equip for Equality is pleased to recognize its 2021 Outstanding Pro Bono Partners.
So many people have joined our Equip for Equality community over the years, from civic leaders and state legislatures to attorneys and advocates to support our work. We greatly appreciate individuals who offer their time as well, who have stepped up and made a huge difference by participating on consumer and advisory boards, or by attending our annual public meetings to keep us attuned to issues in our communities. Whether you are a senator or a senior, a lawyer or a layperson, your voice matters. If you're able to make a donation, please take a moment now to text your contribution to Equip for Equality by texting EFE to 779-204-7221. Again, that's 779-204-7221. Coming up is a feature on EFE's Independent Monitoring Unit, or IMU, which some of you might have known previously as the Abuse Investigation Unit. IMU recently teamed up with Social Security to prevent and remedy financial abuses by people and businesses that manage funds for people with disabilities. This unit was also recently contracted by the state of Illinois to use EFE's special authority to independently investigate Northern Illinois Academy after receiving troubling allegations of improper treatment. Here's Vice President of IMU, Stacy Ashman, to tell us more.
Title: Independent Monitoring Unit.
The Independent Monitoring Unit has two programs. One is the Safety and Quality Monitoring, and the other is the Representative Payee Oversight Program. Both of these programs have a focus on ensuring that people with disabilities, whether they live in the community or an institution, are free from neglect and abuse, including exploitation, as well as making sure that they are living a life of their own making and their preferences are respected. Our Representative Payee program involves a contract with Social Security where we monitor individuals or companies that provide financial services to people with disability to manage their benefits that they receive through Social Security.
Lydia Sharp, Representative Payee Manager.
Without access to the money on an easy, regular basis, or easy communication to the payee, the beneficiary is at risk of losing their housing, not having sufficient food, limiting access to necessary medical care, and those are all things that the beneficiaries rely on the payee in a lot of ways. Since the initiative started in 2018, we have reviewed more than 400 payees across the state of Illinois. These payees have served anywhere from one beneficiary to up to 3,000 beneficiaries. And altogether, they have served nearly 25,000 beneficiaries.
Title: Safety and Quality Monitoring.
In the past year, we've engaged in monitoring and investigative activities that have had an impact on the quality of services and safety of hundreds of individuals with disabilities in Illinois. Recently, we conducted these activities at a children's residential center in a suburban area.
WFRV-TV News Report.
Northern Illinois Academy is in the process of being shut down after a damaging report released in May which alleges physical and sexual abuse. NIA is an 87-bed residential treatment facility for individuals between the ages of 6 and 21 who are diagnosed with mental illness or disabilities.
Kenyatta, mother of former NIA resident.
My son, Brian, was there for about 4 months. And within that 4-month span, I started to be a little concerned because lack of supervision, lack of communication, just a lot of different things, that'll make a mom feel uncomfortable. Phone calls from my son, just hearing a fear in his voice.
We received a report from a parent with some very concerning complaints about the treatment of her child at that facility.
It was very important for me, as a parent, that Equip for Equality believed what I said, because many times these cases or these accusations get looked over. So just as a parent, hearing the comfortness of them believing and actually taking action into what I'm saying, it just made me feel like I had hope.
Equip for Equality report on Northern Illinois Academy. Excerpts from witness testimonies. Staff frequently shoved youth and slammed them to the ground. Youth are being re-traumatized due to chaos at NIA. An NIA staff member sexually assaulted the youth, which resulted in a criminal investigation. Youth who eloped said that they would rather go to the hospital, jail, than return to NIA. Grace Ho, Secretary, Illinois Department of Human Services.
Equip for Equality, in their role as an independent monitor, brought the issues related to NIA to our attention. And once we saw that things continued to escalate, we made the decision to begin transitioning children out for their best interest.
And now, 6 months after the report was issued, there are no children residing at the facility and it is closed.
We as the state recognize that sometimes we can't be the eyes and ears in every facility across the state. And so in that regard, it's very helpful to have another independent protector and advocate of people with disabilities to work alongside with us, even as they are independent.
And I'm happy that we have Equip for Equality out there that really advocate and help parents. Because you've got other people that say they do, but then you have Equip for Equality that actually does the work behind the scenes.
Family portrait of Kenyatta with her 2 teenage sons. Title: Appreciation to all our event sponsors, followed by list of organizations and individuals. Justice Journal, Lisa Madigan, 2008.
I think that all lawyers have a responsibility to give back to the community, and particularly those of us who are in private practice really have a responsibility to give back, because the reality is most people, most families cannot afford private legal representation. And when it comes to education, it is one of the most unmet legal needs. And so families need this help. And the Equality for Kids campaign is doing just that. It's making sure that we have trained lawyers and resources necessary so that families are getting the help they need, so that their children are getting the education that they need.
Governor Jim Thompson in 2010.
The watchdog role for organizations like Equip for Equality is more and more important, it seems to me, and I'll tell you why. First of all, government sometimes doesn't do a very good job of looking at itself. It makes a lot of sense to assign a watchdog function to an outside agency which has no turf stake in the process. It's not their organization. It's not their state institution. They can be non-biased, and they can be zealous beyond that which government can do, I think. And finally, as a matter of public policy, sometimes the answer is in legislation. And having an outside interest like Equip for Equality being advocates of legislation and seeking allies in the community is the most important way to get it passed. So for all those reasons, the advocacy belongs in the private sector, which is why in 1985 I signed that executive order to create the private sector advocacy program, which you run.
Equip for Equality continues to monitor facilities around the state to ensure the health and safety of people with disabilities. Now let's take a look at one of the clinic's past clients, Frank, who struggled for years without educational supports for his learning disabilities until his family reached out to Equip for Equality. Frank is one of over 300,000 students in Illinois with special education needs. Every year, Equip for Equality Special Education Rights Clinic responds to calls from over 1,200 families just like Frank's, who have nowhere else to turn when their rights are denied.
Snapshots of Frank at different ages. His mother, Brenda, speaks.
Well, since like 4th grade, we noticed it was an issue. We went to a public school. They never did nothing about it. They would start the paperwork and then they would never even do it. And, you know, we kept going, and all they would say was he was lazy. He was lazy.
Frank at computer.
I could barely solve a lot of the questions that they had given me. I could barely put my thoughts into words in English. And a lot of times it would just end up with me shutting down. I would put my pencil down and I would just sit there until the time was up.
And, you know, it got to the point where report card day, he would just give me his cell phone, his video games, because he knew they were straight Fs.
I suppose you didn't like school much.
No, I did not.
Amanda Clemis, supervising attorney.
You know, there is an emotionality in other parts of the law, but this is about people's children. And if they can see things kind of slipping away and that their kids aren't being treated correctly or supported in the way that they need, there's nothing, you know, more sacred. I had the pleasure to meet Frank and Brenda pretty soon after I started at Equip for Equality back in 2014. It was one of the first intake calls I handled. Frank's a really bright kid. He's really kind. And so he would just kind of sit there and he was quiet. And so people didn't understand why he was struggling. And the only, you know, sort of answer people could come up with is that he just didn't care. And it just, you know, there were definitely things in those records that made it clear that there was something else going on there.
But once we got with Amanda, she knew what we needed. You know, she knew that we needed a paraprofessional. She knew that we needed the accommodations for writing, the accommodations for math. I would have never thought about that on my own. She was on it. Like anything that was put on there, she would reread it once, twice. If there was something that wasn't right or didn't sound right to her, she'd have them change it.
I was given much simpler work, which helped me learn a lot of things in the end. And it helped immensely. My grades went from straight Fs to, well, some of the best grades I've seen in years.
Olga Pribble, VP, Special Education Rights Clinic.
So the clinic's attorneys help families starting from the helpline, which is telephone assistance, and then giving more detailed and specific hands-on advice, all the way to attending individualized education program meetings, as well as federal court litigation, due process hearings, and even class action work.
You could tell the difference when she was there because they knew that she knew what she was talking about. So they couldn't just kind of like push you out of the way, like, okay, this is what we're giving you and that's it.
I guess I would say that despite all frustration and despite all troubles, that no matter what, as long as you put in the effort, as long as you get the help that you need, you can succeed where you fail, and you can succeed anywhere that you want.
Brenda and Frank watch video on her phone. Phone video of Frank at high school graduation, smiling and raising diploma above his head. Green Star logo with speech bubble reading, staff chat.
My name is Beth Jones, and I am a representative payee monitor in the investigation monitoring unit for Equip for Equality. One of the reasons I came to Equip for Equality was the sheer amount of advocacy that I saw possible through Equip. Equip for Equality goes to numerous organizations, nursing homes, and other facilities in the state of Illinois, and we are able to advocate directly with clients, with their families, with the staff that support them in their facilities, agencies, and homes. And that's very meaningful to me. At my last job, I was able to, help 65 people. At this job, we're able to help 20,000 people in a year. And I think that's just really special. I'm glad to be a part of this wonderful organization, and I feel very supported by them all the time. It's just a wonderful place to work, truly.
Title, Justice Journal, Representative Jan Schakowsky, 2010.
The organization does dive in where often no one else is, and takes on the issues and the constituencies that often are the least powerful. People who consider themselves to be incarcerated in nursing homes, people with mental health issues who can't advocate for themselves, older people who are facing abuse and neglect, who's going to be for them. And I just appreciate so much that Equip for Equality is there for them.
Title, Pro Bono Spotlight. Logo for Dentons. Amanda Antolt, EFE attorney.
I'm here today with Harold Hirschman, who has been doing pro bono work with Equip for Equality for more than 10 years now. He is a partner at Dentons, which as a law firm has contributed more than 5,000 hours of pro bono legal work to Equip for Equality. Most of Harold's work with us has been on our large class actions, including the one that I work with him on about mental health in the prison system. So Harold, can you tell us about why advancing disability justice in the prison system for people with mental illness is important for you?
Well, I think that's a sort of softball question. It's important to me because it's, besides the work that Equip does, it's a neglected area, and it's a neglected area for people who are not very popular and whose causes do not cause hearts to beat more quickly, despite their constitutional rights to mental and physical health care. And so when Equip came to me in 2008 to look at the system and to think about a lawsuit, it was a kind of no-brainer because it was so neglected and the suffering was so great.
Title: Pro Bono Spotlight. Logo for Kirkland & Ellis LLP. Rachel Shapiro, EFE attorney.
Kirkland & Ellis was the Special Education Rights Clinic first pro bono partner and has taken on every pro bono opportunity from helpline calls to class action litigation. In the last 5 years, Kirkland attorneys have donated over 5,000 hours of time to our clients. Donna Welch is a longtime pro bono partner and currently co-counsel on our class action, seeking to ensure competent interpreter and translated key documents at school meetings. Donna, what drew you to work with Equip for Equality on advancing disability justice?
I have been a proud sponsor and participant in Equip for Equality's work since I started at Kirkland & Ellis 26 years ago. I'm a mom of 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter has an IEP. And even as somebody who's a lawyer by trade and where English is my first language, I knew from experience how difficult and challenging and overwhelming those IEP meetings could be. The notion that somebody as a parent was trying to do the best for their child in that setting without a competent interpreter really was just mind-boggling to me. And on a very personal level, I wanted to step in and help. And we are on the cusp of settling those cases with a terrific result, which will lead to all of the folks with IEPs, whether English speakers or not, having a meaningful opportunity to participate in their children's education.
Title: Equip for Equality is pleased to recognize its 2021 Outstanding Pro Bono Partners. Nura Ali, in wheelchair, holding violin.
Happy 35th anniversary, Equip for Equality. I am so grateful for all the work and activism that you do. My name is Nura Ali, and I'll be playing La Cinquantaine by J.G. Murray.
Thank you, Nura, for that beautiful performance. Equip for Equality is pleased to recognize Winston and Strawn's outstanding commitment to disability justice through their pro bono work. Let's hear about their tremendous impact now.
Title: Over 30 law firms and in-house corporate legal departments donate pro bono legal services to Equip for Equality. Olga Pribble, VP, Special Education Rights Clinic and Pro Bono.
Tonight, we're particularly pleased to honor our top 5 pro bono partners by hours over the last 5 years, including Winston and Strawn, Kirkland and Ellis, Denton's, Latham and Watkins, Jones Day. Winston and Strawn has been critical in the class action litigation on behalf of deaf prisoners. They also have been critical in helping families navigate the special education services. Winston and Strawn has also been a terrific partner in our Voting Access Chicago project.
Kristen Wickler, Associate, Winston and Strawn, President, EFE's Auxiliary Board.
When you see someone's rights are being infringed on and you can do something about it, I believe you should. And I've been involved with Equip for Equality since actually before I started at Winston. I completed a Pilley Fellowship right before starting at the firm, and then have been doing pro bono work with Equip for Equality ever since.
Bob Michaels, partner, Winston and Strawn, sitting at his office desk.
I grew up right across the street from a very famous deaf person, Marley Matlin. So we used to hang out in the neighborhood together and got to know a lot of the deaf community basically through Marley.
Chicago Tribune headline: Judge grants class action status in deaf prisoners' lawsuit.
They were not really receiving the accommodations they needed in order to effectively and safely communicate in the prison environment. That was something that, given my connection to the deaf community, was very attractive to me as a pro bono opportunity. So I jumped on it and said I'd be happy to get involved with that.
Barry Taylor, VP, Civil Rights and Systemic Litigation.
So Winston really did a phenomenal job at all levels. First, on the litigation itself, they put together the complaint, litigated the case very successfully to the point where the Department of Corrections was ready to settle the case.
It required a lot of work going to the prisons, setting up the interviews, and then conducting the interviews, gathering all the facts. And then later on in the litigation, after it was filed, when we went through discovery, there was a lot of work as well. I'd estimate over the course of the last 10, 12 years, we've probably had 25 people work on the case here at Winston. So it's been quite a team effort.
They negotiated a really comprehensive, effective settlement. What was really phenomenal, though, was that Winston didn't stop there. Bob and his team stayed on the case for implementation to make sure that the state did what it promised to in the settlement agreement.
Even if someone's incarcerated for having committed a crime, they're still a person who has some fundamental rights. The fundamental right to communicate, the fundamental right to be safe in your environment. And so I think, this is the kind of case that needs to be handled on a global basis on behalf of all deaf and hard of hearing inmates who have those kinds of issues to make sure that they're protected.
The contribution of Bob and the team at Winston was Herculean. They put in over 10,000 hours on this case from beginning to end, which is incredibly unusual for a law firm to commit to one case. But without their commitment, we wouldn't have had the systemic change that occurred.
A big part of what I learned at Equip was how powerful it can be when you can teach someone and provide them with the tools to help advocate for themselves. There's this sense of empowerment and dignity that you see.
It's a refreshing assignment to be out there on the front lines fighting for people who otherwise can't fight for themselves and who can't afford to pay big-time lawyers to represent them. It's just good for the soul, and it's good for your it's good for your legal mindset, I think, to get involved in pro bono work.
We have been fortunate to have attorneys from all area practices volunteer with us, from litigators to tax attorneys to estate planning attorneys. I think people really just enjoy working with people with disabilities, having the one-on-one client interaction, and seeing the difference that they can make.
Equip for Equality is pleased to recognize Winston & Strawn, LLP, 2021 Outstanding Pro Bono Partner. Equip for Equality expresses appreciation to its pro bono partners, listed on screen. Title: Justice Journal. Senator Barack Obama, 2005.
40 years ago, men and women took to the streets and to the courts. They marched, they bled, they stood up and spoke out until they secured the right to vote for every American, until they secured the right for every American to fully participate in the American dream. 20 years later, Equip for Equality was created to expand this right, to once again take the march of progress forward.
Green Star logo with speech bubble reading Staff Chat. Kelsey Burgess, Staff Attorney.
As corny as it may sound, one of my greatest motivations for continuing to do this work at EFE is my desire to create a reality where people can live freely. Working at EFE allows me to assist people in self-determination, to help create a world where they can live without discrimination and other legal constraints. And honestly, if creating a world where people can be free isn't enough motivation, I don't know what else is.
I'm Andrew Webb. I'm a staff attorney on the civil rights team at Equip for Equality. I also manage the assistive technology program. When I decided long ago that I wanted to be a lawyer, I never seriously considered a career in disability law, but my priorities changed after I graduated law school and had already started practicing, and I suddenly and unexpectedly went blind. I understand the importance of and the challenges in securing quality rehabilitation and healthcare services. I'm able to bring some of that personal understanding into my advocacy for my clients, and I think it helps my clients to understand that I know what they're going through on a personal level.
Our civil rights team focuses on a range of issues, including discrimination, self-determination, abuse and neglect, and community integration. Stanley Liggis is the lead plaintiff in our community integration class action on behalf of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This litigation was critical because historically Illinois has been one of the most institutionalized states in the country. As a result of the work of the civil rights team and our partners, over 10,000 people have received community services. Let's take a look.
Title: Civil Rights Team, Community Integration. Nick Check, House Manager and Clinical Mentor, sits beside Stanley Liggis.
So since we've been...
Go ahead. Do it.
Since I'm trying.
Stanley Liggis,
Yeah.
disability rights activist,
I give it.
moves about his house.
This is Stanley's home.
Dr. Charlene Bennett, CEO, Individual Advocacy Group.
And Stanley has lived here over, I think, 5-6 years. He lives with 3 other people. Stanley met these gentlemen and made a decision that that's who he wanted to live with. So he absolutely was on the ground level of creating his life.
Housemates John and Chris next to Stanley.
And we work together as a team. Because it's hard. Yeah, we do. We clean this, we clean that. And they asked me if they want my help with something. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Most of the people we support have come from settings that have been institutionalized. They don't want to be able to have people tell them how to live. They want to have control, their own control of how they want to live. And so that is primarily what we've done, is to support people to be integrated into a community of choice.
Title: 10 years earlier. Stanley stands in long institutional hallway. Laura Miller, managing attorney.
The history of the case started in about 2002, 2003, when we were getting a lot of complaints about people in Illinois being unable to live in community settings and being forced to live in large institutional settings.
Zena Nadich speaks at a press conference in 2004.
Thank you, Martha. Equip for Equality recently completed a 50-state review of deinstitutionalization and community integration. And we had one simple question we were trying to answer. Why is it that other states have been able to move people out of institutions and let them live full lives in the community, and why has Illinois continued and persistently fought that national trend?
After trying to negotiate with the state, we decided that litigation was necessary.
Barry Taylor, VP, Civil Rights and Systemic Litigation.
And so we needed to have some individuals to represent the broader class. And we learned of Stanley Liggis. He was living in a large institution, far away from his family, with hundreds of other people, and he was miserable.
This is not very good wrestling here. They do plenty wrestling. I don't like that either.
This idea of people with disabilities as the other who need to live in another place is just so flawed.
Fortunately, Stanley was willing to put his name on the line and be our named plaintiff, our lead plaintiff.
ABC 7 News Report.
A new lawsuit is accusing Illinois of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Several groups serving disabled people announced that class action lawsuit today, claiming Illinois discriminates against developmentally disabled people by placing them in large institutionalized settings. Illinois ranks 49th among the 50 states in placing the disabled in community settings.
2011 Chicago Tribune article. Deal gives 3,000 disabled people choice of community-based housing.
This lawsuit, it provided the power and the strength of the law to make this opportunity a reality. People were given choices.
This kind of a setting, people adapt to that quickly, and they're able to make a lot of progress and blossom in a setting like this versus something that would be more of an institutional setting to where they don't get a lot of that one-on-one time with staff or with housemates, or in this case, like friends, brothers, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Stanley likes to bowl, and he has a job at a bowling alley. He's following his preferences.
Stanley gets in car with Nick and drives to a CD/DVD store.
Hey. Are you hearing it still in?
You don't have regimented schedules to have to follow. You're just a person living a life. Without Equip for Equality, the lives many of our folks are now living may not have been possible.
Look at this one and see.
Nope. Not that either. See? That's weird.
Okay, well that's new. That's why. So we got to keep looking.
1, 2, and Ocean 8.
Ocean's 8. All right. Okay, I got it. Don't worry.
Stanley and Nick walk in their neighborhood.
I love my house manager.
I love you too.
You're mine.
Yes, I am your house manager.
Title: Our deepest appreciation to those who helped Stanley and his peers gain greater access to community supports.
Okay.
I'll help you.
I got it. All you're gonna get is my can.
Me.
I gotta just get a can.
Title: Named plaintiffs: Stanley Liggis, Jamie McElroy, David Ciccarelli, Jennifer Wilson, Isaiah Fair.
My bags are already in my car.
Yeah, I will help you.
But they're already in my car.
I will help you.
Title: Pro bono partner, Denton's.
I'm gonna do that when we get back.
Oh, you will?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That means I want to help you.
The house will look nice and clean though, so
I love you.
Stanley hugs Laura Miller.
I'll be right here.
Outside the Idle Hour bowling alley, he throws imaginary bowling ball.
It's great to see the impact that EFE's class action work can have on so many people. The support that Stanley and his peers have received to help them thrive in our neighborhoods shows how Equip for Equality systemic work can be a foundation for more inclusive and diverse communities throughout Illinois. You can help us continue this important work. It's not too late. As we close this evening's event, pick up your phones and text your donation to Equip for Equality by texting EFE to 779-204-7221. Again, that's 779-204-7221. You'll be glad you did. Whether it's for community integration, access to employment, and appropriate education, voting rights, or freedom from abuse and neglect, Equip for Equality promises to build on its 35-year legacy so that all of us, regardless of ability, may enjoy our greatest potential. Thank you for joining us, and good night.
Title thanks the outstanding pro bono attorneys from the 5 featured firms. Names of over 100 individuals are listed. A list of the 44 individuals who appeared in tonight's program. Titles express special appreciation for Equip for Equality's 35th Anniversary Celebration Committee, Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, and Auxiliary Board. Names of individuals appear below. Thank you to our staff for bringing our mission of disability justice to life. List of media production and event vendors. Text to donate. Text EFE to 779-204-7221 or click the donate button below.